6.
Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, November 19th. Thank you for joining us. I am joined today by Dr. Joneigh Khaldun, our Chief Medical Executive, by Matthew Hornick, Dr. Matthew Hornick, the President of the Michigan chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, Brian Turek, the co-owner of Smoke and Pig Barbecue in Delta Township, Kendra Patterson, the co-owner of Michigan Barnwood and Salvage in Mason, Michigan. Yesterday, the epidemic order that the Department of Health and Human Services issued, limiting indoor gatherings where COVID-19 can easily spread, went into effect. I want to remind everyone that these actions are both targeted and intended to be temporary. These steps are what the public health experts tell us we need to take to avoid overwhelmed hospitals and death counts like we saw in the spring. Doing this will also protect our medical workers, our first responders, and other essential workers who have put their lives on the line to protect the rest of us. People we usually call frontliners. But I hesitate to use that phrase because it implies there is a second line. We have to respect the people that have been on the front line because they are what's keeping us safe. We must all work together here. We had our weekly data call on Tuesday evening where we got an update from our health experts. This is the fourth call that we have had with Michigan legislators on it, including 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans from the House and Senate. I am hopeful that when the legislature returns from their hunting break, Republicans will share their plans for addressing the public health emergency our state is facing. We must do everything that we can to protect each other from this virus because this virus doesn't care who you are. Any one of us can contract COVID-19. Dave Burkhardt is a 28-year-old resident physician in one of the busiest emergency rooms in Michigan on the west side of the state. He's an avid exerciser. He works out 5 times a week and has no significant chronic medical conditions. He was diagnosed with COVID-19 earlier this month and was admitted to the hospital because he could barely walk 10 steps. Dave is one of the heroes that has stayed on the front line of this crisis for the past 8 months. And for 8 months, he has seen the worst part of this pandemic. He's seen all kinds of people admitted to the hospital with COVID-19. He's watched family members say goodbye to their loved ones for the last time. And yet every morning, he wakes up, he puts on his PPE and heads into work. In a Facebook post last week, Dave urged his fellow Michiganders to do their part. Here's what he said. Think about the families who want to be with their loved ones while they're sick but can't. Think how silly it sounds to complain about a mask when there are literally people gasping for air. It is up to all of us to stop the spread of COVID. It does not just affect the old and frail, it affects all of us, and we are all at risk of getting sick. Please wear your mask. Do your part to stop the spread. I know this has been a tough time for all of us, tougher for many than I can even imagine. We all owe it to Dave and to the brave men and women on the front line to do our part and take this seriously, especially as we head into Thanksgiving next week. I know you've all heard me talk about Thanksgiving a number of times these past couple of weeks, but like I said before, we are going to get through this. We are doing our part when we protect our loved ones and stay apart this holiday. We're preserving future holiday gatherings together by taking this seriously now. By not gathering with people outside of your household this Thanksgiving, it is an act of kindness and love. I read an article in MLive yesterday that mentioned a group of 11 family members and friends that recently gathered for a simple night of cards in the Upper Peninsula. Shortly thereafter, all 11 got sick with COVID. Their story's not unique. We know that gathering indoors with people who live outside of our homes, not wearing masks, is exactly how this virus spreads. Recently, healthcare leaders from the UP sent out a joint statement urging everyone to do their part to stop the spread. Here's what they said. It's been a long haul, and we're not done with COVID-19 yet. We must slow the spread of this virus, but it's up to you to choose to do the right things and have compassion for others, even if it means you must make small personal sacrifices like wearing a mask and skipping a holiday gathering. These are small prices to pay to protect your life and the health and lives of others. If we listen to the medical experts, we're going to beat this virus. We beat this last time by listening to these medical health experts, and we can and we will do it again if we do it together. Despite leaders across our country urging our Congress and White House to work together, we still don't have a bipartisan relief package from the federal government. The president has spent more energy spreading untruths about the election outcome than he has listening to health experts and protecting American people. Today, Democratic leader in the Senate, Jim Ananich, House Democratic leader Chris Gregg, and I sent a letter to Senator Mitch McConnell, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senator Chuck Schumer, Representative Kevin McCarthy, urging them all to take swift action to pass a COVID-19 relief bill that meets the scale of this crisis. I did ask the Republican leader in both the Senate and House to sign on to this letter as well, but they declined. It's really crucial that we come together. It's crucial that this relief bill gets passed because it includes aids to the states and locals to help combat the virus, to mitigate the economic fallout, to provide support for our kids and our educators, to protect the nurses and doctors and people on the front line, to help out our restaurants who are struggling and our small businesses and so many who are out of work. Federal support was essential to the action that we took to fight this pandemic this spring, and it helped us stabilize our economy in the early months of the pandemic. Now, during the worst surge that we have seen since the start of this, Michigan and states across the country need more support to protect our families, frontline workers, and small businesses. We also need unemployment relief to help the millions of Americans who have lost work due to this pandemic. Nearly 3 million Michigan workers and counting have applied for unemployment benefits since the start of the pandemic, with more than 600,000 still receiving benefits. Rising infections are likely to lead to more layoffs, which will only drive that number higher. It's imperative that Congress take action now to extend UI provisions of the CARES Act to provide relief to those who lost their job through no fault of their own, to help us get through this tough time and strengthen our economy. Over 600,000 Michigan workers are currently receiving unemployment assistance, with more than 80% of those workers relying on the soon-to-expire CARES Act programs. This means that if Congress does not act, almost 500,000 people in our state could lose access to these critical benefits that have served as a lifeline for these people and their families. I also want to urge the Michigan legislature to extend unemployment benefits beyond December 31st of this year. This was one of my executive orders. The legislature extended, but only through the end of this year, and that's just not going to cut it. This should be one of the first orders of business when the legislature returns from their hunting break. We know that this pandemic will not be over by the new year, and while there are truly promising developments like the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, we know that they will not be ready for widespread distribution to the general population for months. I was proud of the bipartisan work that we did to extend unemployment benefits to the people of Michigan. Now we have to work together again to ensure people can put food on the table for themselves and their families and pay their heating bills this winter. My administration has taken a number of steps to provide support for our small businesses during this pandemic. I want to mention just a few that I haven't talked about in a while. The Michigan COVID-19 Safety Grant Program has awarded matching funds up to $10,000 to decrease the risk of COVID-19 transmission in the workplace through the purchase of health and safety-related equipment. The Weatherization Grant Program provides reimbursement grant funding to help small businesses, including bars and restaurants, winterize. With the new MIOSHA Ambassador Program, businesses across the state can now schedule COVID-19 safety consultations as a part of the new Ambassador Program partnership with NSF International and MIOSHA. And the Small Business Restart Program and the Small Business Relief Program provide funds to small businesses that are struggling. As Black Friday and the holiday season approaches, there are steps that each of us can take at the individual level to help small businesses in our communities. As you get ready for the holidays, I urge you to support local businesses and ensure that you are staying safe by wearing your mask and respecting the safety of the people that own these small businesses and their employees. Under the MDHHS epidemic order, retail remains open with strict safety measures in place. Kendra's business, Michigan Barnwood and Salvage in Mason, supports over 75 Michigan artisans. They sell everything from candles to clothing to metal signs in their showroom. And their 15,000 square foot lumberyard contains reclaimed barnwood of all colors and dimensions. And most importantly, they've made a commitment to staying safe through this pandemic. Businesses in Michigan are required by law to enforce strict safety measures to protect their employees, their customers, and our families. So if you walk into a business and they're not wearing masks and not looking out for your safety, I encourage you to walk out. Next week, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation will roll out an initiative encouraging Michiganders to support local businesses in collaboration with small business organizations across the state. Let's embrace Small Business Saturday every day in the coming weeks and months, even if we're doing it in a slightly different way. Because there's nothing more pure Michigan than supporting our local businesses here at home. In fact, if we switch 1 in 10 of our out-of-state purchases to local stores, Michigan would gain $1.2 billion in increased economic activity. Just 10% of your out-of-state purchasing staying here at home has a massive impact to these businesses, these families, and right here at home. So this season, let's shop local, let's dine local, get that takeout, and stay local and support small businesses and workers that are the heartbeat of our communities. I also want to welcome Brian Turek from Smoke and Pig Barbecue in the Lansing area. They've shown a deep commitment to keeping the community safe. Like many restaurants in Michigan, they're still open for takeout or takeout and delivery. I know that there are a lot of restaurants in our state that are worried about the weeks to come. I'm worried too. I urge all Michiganders to support your favorite local restaurant by ordering takeout and delivery or buying a gift card for yourself later or for your friends. It helps these businesses now. I've also called on the president repeatedly to pass a bipartisan support package to help restaurants and restaurant employees that are struggling. And I will not stop until our restaurants and small businesses have the support that they need to get through this tough time. COVID-19 doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate if you're young or old, if you're a Trump Republican or a Biden Democrat, if you're a Spartan or a Wolverine. This virus can be deadly for everyone. That's why these next 3 weeks are so crucial. We flattened the curve in the spring by listening to our public health and medical experts. We can do this again. You have the power to help us push this curve down. Every one of us has the power to make choices that will contribute to that. And it's going to take all of us working together. This is my last press conference before Thanksgiving. Once again, I urge all of you to be smart and do everything in your power to keep your loved ones safe. We will get through this together. With that, I'll bring up Dr. J.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we are announcing 285,398 cases and 8,324 total deaths due to COVID-19 in Michigan. We are still seeing an exponential rise in cases across the state. Our case rates range from 418 cases per million in the Traverse City region to 934 cases per million in the Grand Rapids